Hey, Whitebeard Ann here. Hey, what's going on, Johnny? Oh man, sorry to hear that. Yeah, I just started my divorce journey too. Sure, I'll totally share some of my takeaways so far. Love to. Watch for the video, man. Stay well. Peace out. Listen, Johnny's struggling. I know where he's been, man. Let's talk about this. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Whitebeard Ann here. So today, talking about being divorced and a dad. Listen, everybody has their own experiences with it. This is something I think should be spoken about. Some men do struggle with it, and I'm going to kind of share some of my takeaways with it. As an educator, right, as a teacher, it's one thing I do really well. I've kind of realized now that in marriage I don't do so well. Being a father, I could be a really amazing father, not so good as a husband, perhaps. However, it is what it is. Some of us find us, in this space, in this spot, and how do you move forward, and how do you become a role model or stay a role model for your kids through this difficult time? It is difficult emotionally. It takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on your kids. And it's probably taking a toll on your ex as well. So some of the things I want to just talk about, some initially my takeaways, some of the things that I've observed, some of the things that made the transition a little bit easier, that hopefully makes it a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to share 10 of them. Of course, I want to put a number on stuff. And let's get into it. Tip number 1. You gotta have a calendar. You gotta know what's going on. You gotta know what's going on with the kids' calendar. You gotta have some sort of communication with your ex, where the kids are supposed to be, when you're picking them up, what time. I realize, both me and my ex are very busy people. She's got a very, job where she's traveling a lot. So it really is a matter of how you're communicating what's happening with the kids, who's taking care of the kids, where are the kids going to be, what activities do they have to have. Because the thing is their life should not be disrupted. Just because you're living in separate spaces, I want them to still experience everything that they're experiencing in school, their extracurricular activities, their friends. So being in constant communication and knowing when that stuff's happening. So tip number 1, you've got to have a calendar. I suggest Outlook. I'm a big fan of it because, if you're computer savvy, you can send each other invites. So it's always on your calendar. It's always a reminder. If things change, you can change it really quickly. And, by accepting also the appointment, the other person knows that you got the notification. So have some sort of a system. Mine's, electronic. I love it. I live by it. Things are color-coded. And even, so far as I schedule all my activities with the kids on Outlook. So that's one of those things. Have a system for a calendar. That's tip number 1. Okay, tip number 2. Kind of similar to tip number 1, but plan ahead. But I mean, it's, more specifically, plan what you want to do with your kids. You're a divorced dad. You're only going to have a limited amount of space, especially if your kids are living with their mom, like in my situation. I only have my kids every other weekend. I do see them during the week after school a couple nights. So a lot of that, is a matter of what am I doing with the kids? During the week, I know I'm going to be feeding them. I'm going to be taking care of them. I'm going to give them baths, especially if they've had some sports afterwards, so that they're all ready. When I drop them off at mom's, they're clean, their homework is done. So that's that routine, that's that plan. And then what am I doing with them on the weekends? Are we doing something? Are we doing some sort of activity? Are we going to a movie? The holidays are coming up. So this is one of the things where, I'm looking into going and cutting out a Christmas tree with the kids. So these are pumpkin picking, whatever it is, you need to have a plan for when you have the kids. You do not want to wait till you pick up the kids on Friday afternoon. And you're like, okay, kids, what are we doing? You have a very short window of when you get to spend with your kids. Your wife or your ex-wife has had to spend the whole week. They got to lounge around, do stuff. you need to be, mindful that you've only got about 72 hours of a 2-week period that you can really, really bond with your kids. Use it wisely. Plan ahead. Okay. Tip number 3, talk to them. Find out what's going on in their lives. Again, especially when I really am mindful during the week. I spend some time asking them what's going on at school, what's happening with your friends, what are you doing? Kind of get it, you don't really get the everyday stuff, especially if you're the divorced dad like I am, where you're on the sidelines a lot. It is a weird transition. Little bit of background, I was a stay-at-home dad for my kids' early years, so that transition of not being around my kids is very new to me. It wasn't until I moved out of the house that I was away from my kids for more than a few days. So being away from them for a week, it's definitely different for me. This holiday season, they're going away from me. So, again, find out what's going on in their lives. You got to talk to them, and make it about them. It's find out, what their interests are how they performing in the sports. Like my daughter's in the science club, in the science fair. So, what's going on with that? Are you on point with your homework? So those are some of the things that you want to speak to. Talk to your kids. Obviously, you want to talk to your kids anyway, but you want to really be mindful of speaking to your kids when you're with them. That short, limited time. Tip number 4, help them with their schoolwork. Understand what's going on. I'm a teacher, so I'm always going to hone in on that stuff. But understand how they're doing in school. Next week, my students' parent-teacher conferences are coming up. I got to make it a point to be there. I want to know what's going on in their education. I also keep a school calendar for their school on my refrigerator, so I know when the school days are off. I'm mindful of making sure that my days off align with that. But more importantly, make sure you're involved in their schoolwork. One of the, there's a ton of research that shows that the more the parents are involved in the kids' education, the more successful they're going to be. So that is a big piece. And remember, because you're with them, those, even if a couple nights a week, those are the greatest opportunities to check out, because it is a school night. They're kind of on the mode. When I get the kids, the routine is, hey, let's get our homework done, because then, we can hang out, we can play, we can do these things. So the priority to me always is how you doing with your academics, what's going on in school, are you all caught up with school? And especially when have the kids on a weekend, I make sure that when they go back home to mom, all their homework, all their schoolwork is done. They're ready to go. They're all caught up. Everything's organized. And the other thing is too is, my son makes stuff, and at school it's cool to hang up on the refrigerator. Number 5, it's a biggie. Do not ask about their mother. I am very aware, I'm not so much aware, but I am pretty tuned into not speaking about their mother in any sort of way, derogatory. If the mom comes up, I just say, hey, I'm happy for her. But for the most part, they understand that we're just co-parenting, that we help make the decisions. But when it comes to speaking about their mother personally, I do not throw any shade at their mother. That is the mother of my children. I want them to respect them. I even, make sure that I back up. The other thing is that I'm very, my kids are messy. All kids are messy. And it is important that, especially because they're living at home, in my case, they're living at home for those 2 weeks. I make sure that I reiterate, hey, you need to help your mother. You need to help her clean up. I am not there. I need you to make sure that, you're chipping in. So those are really important things to instill in your kids, that sort of responsibility that, hey, we're a family, we're a unit, we're living in 2 separate spaces, and that we need to kind of be mindful of that. So one of those things is really, don't ever put yourself in a position where it's a he said, you're talking about her. And I'm pretty certain that, my ex is not speaking about me in any sort of negative way. So yeah, just keep that stuff to yourself. If you're going to bitch about your ex, bitch about it to somebody else, not your kids, not the place. And that's the other thing, another tie-in. Again, I'm not really down this road yet, but I would imagine if you're dating, probably something you don't want to just dive into, unless that was maybe the source of your divorce. And your kids are aware of that, and hey, that's you, whatever, that's your journey. But that's just another complication. My kids are young, especially if I have young kids. They don't understand. They still don't understand. and I haven't even gotten into this is my second marriage, so that is a whole other space that, that I don't really want to go down with my kids. So, just be really, really mindful of that kind of stuff. The next one, don't start overcompensating with gifts, man. Don't start buying your kids stuff because you need to make up some sort of, deficiency in your relationship. My kids get what they get, they get the normal stuff, but I ain't buying them any extra stuff to go home with. They asking me all the time, my son with the Fortnite, V-Bucks, get the hell out of here. You don't need to buy your kids love. They still love me just as much as when I say no, you can't have it. It's okay, cool, you're out, you want to buy them something that's there. And I'll talk a little bit about one of the things that I did, in the next tip. But you don't need to buy them gifts. You don't need to shower them with things that they don't really need, that won't last, that'll kind of set you up for more trouble than it's worth in the end. Okay, my next tip is, when I first moved into the apartment, because I moved out of the house, I really had nothing. So it was really important that I involved the kids in the decision as far as, what do you want your new bedroom to look like? What kind of sheets you want to wear? Some of the things that they took responsibility for, in my new place, I included them in the discussion. We're looking at couches. What couches you guys want to get? So they understood that, hey, Dad's moving out, we're moving into a new space, so let's all kind of share this journey together and kind of, furnish the new apartment together. Big piece of it. So ask their input. How do you want to decorate this? You want to paint this room a different color? Where you want to set it up, how you want to set it up. And I'm not in a big space, but because we only have one bedroom, but I got the space. The kids are able to move around. They each got their own space. Even when they're sleeping, they each got their places to go. So it works well. But that was because three of us sat down, discussed it, kind of mapped it all out. So involved them in the process, and they really own it. And my kids love coming here. In fact, they live here more than they live at home. What up? Yeah. My other tip is this. In my situation, when you're moving out, try and get some of the stuff that's familiar to them. So, for example, I'm sitting at this table. My kids grew up with this table. They've had this table since they were babies. It was my grandmother's table, so it was one piece of furniture I did want. But when they come here, they know this is almost a piece of home. They know that they've seen this table before. It's not everything new. So there is some pieces of it. The other thing, and I will give this as a huge tip, listen, if you're going to move out and you need to set up your space, make sure you grab as much extra the kitchen utensils that you need. You do not realize that was the one thing when I was moving into the apartment. Oh my gosh, I don't have a thing to open up a jar, a can. I don't have a can opener. I don't have a pizza cutter. I didn't even have a knife. So it was just very weird, some of the stuff you didn't have. So definitely think about that stuff that, hey, it's sitting in a closet and nobody's using. Take that with you. My last tip is, you got to take care of yourself. This is one of the things I struggle with as somebody just is constantly busy, constantly working, that I sometimes forget about taking care of myself. If I'm not physically, mentally, emotionally sound, I cannot be the best person for my kids. So if there's any tips that I could give any divorced dad, is make sure you're taking care of yourself. However it is, whether you're going to speak to somebody else, whether you're watching videos on YouTube, whether you're taking yoga classes, whatever it is, you need to kind of find that space to get out of your head, to kind of process this. This is a journey. Some guys handle it very well, some guys not so well. It does not have to be that way. So yeah, take care of yourself, guys. It's huge. All right. Well, there it is. There's my 10 tips. I hope they're helpful. Listen, feel free, leave your comments, questions down below. If you've experienced something that I kind of haven't, that I didn't even speak about, let me know. Let us know. This is the space where this should be shared. As always, Whitebeard Ann here. Subscribe, peace out, man.